Good Tuesday evening, high school sports fans. Joe Gillaway with Lingelstown Gazette Sports live from the Orchard Street studio for episode number 7 of our new podcast, Gazette Sports Chat, where we'll get to know participants from various realms of the high school sports world, the student athletes who play the games, the coaches who coach them, and others connected in different ways to the entire experience. We'll introduce you to tonight's guests in just a moment, as soon as we're done thanking those responsible for bringing us tonight's show, our Lingelstown Gazette Sports Platinum sponsors, and they are Rickabaz Electric, Payor Apparel. Thanks to Larry Bragg at Payor. If you guys see this T-shirt right here above my finger, our guests are each going to get one of those, and our coach guest already has one of those, so we're going to get you one of the new white ones with red letters. But we'll get T-shirts to all you guys for joining us, and thanks to Larry from Payor for that. Ted's Bar and Grill, Freedom Financial Wealth Management, Tonino's Pizza, Crystal Bob at Howard Hanna Real Estate, Team PA, AAU Basketball, Sam Hartley Decking, Lingelstown American Legion Post 272, Hoffman Ford, The Tire Mart, Modern Imprint, Capital Region Insurance Agency, and, of course, Underdog Sports Bar and Grill. And one of the things I just recently learned about Underdog, they serve brunch on Sunday now. So, and I heard it's pretty good. So, upcoming, this is a big deal, and Coach Headen will know who this guy is. Maybe the younger guys here, the players won't, but Jimmy Jones, legendary John Harris and USC quarterback Jimmy Jones will be joining us a week from tonight. We are looking forward to that. It's a big, big deal for me. I mean, what an honor for me. We are also sourcing, trying to pin down Coach Andrew Irby and a couple of his players, and Coach Calvin Everett and a couple of his players for shows in the upcoming weeks. And each Sunday night at 6 now, we just started this past Sunday, we're going to do a recap show. And so look forward to every Sunday at 6 jumping in. We did a show last week. We talked a lot about the guys here tonight and their big wins. So anyway, tonight's guests are a local coach and 2 of his players who are part of a resurgence in their school's football program, which has gone from winless just 3 short years ago to a team who are poised to make a run at the Mid-Penn Colonial Division and District 3 Class 4A titles. It's an honor to welcome Susquehanna Township players Lex Cyrus and Mason Lubold, and the man who leads them out of the locker room and under the Friday night lights, 22nd year head coach Joe Headen. Do I got that right? 22nd year?
22nd. Okay.
We just went through this. This has become regular, right? This is the third time in like 2 or 3 weeks that I've seen you. So you're kind of one of the kind of father figure patriarchs of the local high school football. How's that happen? You just keep coming back and the years pile up, right?
They do. I think it seems like every year is year one, and I think that's what keeps me motivated. It's like it's the challenge of being involved with something you love to do and having fun doing it. So as long as I'm having fun and enjoying the guys, I'm gonna keep doing it.
Okay, now let me bring in first Lex Cyrus. Lex, why don't you just tell the folks your class year and the positions you play?
Lex Cyrus, I play wide receiver, class of 2025.
And Mason Lubold.
I'm class of 2025, center and then defensive tackle.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so let's just jump right into it. You guys had a big, and I think it was a very big, and actually, Sunday night on our show, I said it was kind of one of the highlights of my week one. I call it week one, not week 0, but for me, it was one of the highlights of my week one high school football games. It was a 36-30 win over a Penn Hills team who've won 9.5 games per season average. I don't know if you guys knew that. This is a team that wins lots of games over the past 6 full seasons. So, it was no slouch that you guys had to play. And you're not going to usually get a slouch when you play in the York Rose Bowl. But first, talk about what it meant to be asked to play in that prestigious showcase, Mason.
Yeah, well, just being able to represent our school and the community in that game was an honor. I actually never heard of the game at first, so being able to play in it was really cool for the first time. But yeah, it was just an honor being able to participate in it, especially with so many other great teams that were there, and especially with a good opponent.
Yeah, it's prestigious, and I use that word because it is. I mean, I think it's maybe the 3rd year, Coach. Was it How long have they been doing it?
Longer than that, because if you remember, they did it.
Oh, they started at Woodland Hill. Yeah, and then moved it to Chambersburg. So yeah, you're right. But there's always prestigious schools there and representing their or teams representing their schools. And Lex, what was it like? What was the environment like just to be down there playing?
Yeah, it was really just great. When you look at the teams that play there, you got Imhotep, you got McDevitt, state champions playing in the game. They had Harrisburg there last year. So when you give Susquehanna Township a chance to play in a game like that, like we had to take the opportunity and get the win.
And you certainly did. And you start 1-0 on the season after kind of letting one get away. We're not going to focus a whole lot on that. But like I told Coach Headen, it's part of your story, where you guys have come from over the last few years. You guys kind of let one get away, I thought, in week 1 last year against Milton Hershey. You ended up losing 3 games in the regular season by a total of 5 points and had fourth quarter leads in all 3 of those games. But you guys were down late in the game on Saturday, and you didn't let it get away. You scored with about 5 minutes left, and you were able to hold them off. Mason, I'll go to you, because usually when you get a late lead in football, it's kind of the beef that holds on to it, right? The guys in the trenches, you rely on them to say, let's get these guys, let's let the guys down, the linebackers, the linemen, finish this game out. What was it like having that lead and having to hold on to it?
Well, throughout the offseason, we took the lessons we learned from those fourth quarter losses in last season and applied them to our workouts and applied them to our practices all season. So I think when we were in that situation, we were prepared to be in that situation because we already were in those types of situations at practice in those like artificial settings. So, I mean, it was a high stress situation, but I think we were prepared and I think we were ready. And that's what led to our being able to hold on to that lead and why we were successful in that game.
Great. Okay, Coach, did things kind of feel different for you guys when you had that lead with 5 minutes to go, or you really didn't know what was going to happen?
When you're around it so long, you don't know. It's like Forrest Gump. It's that box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get.
Right.
But Mason was dead on. We took the approach from when we started in January, and we really focused on telling our kids we lost 3 games in the fourth quarter that we were winning every single one. So we tried to find an aspect of every workout and say, hey, okay, it's fourth quarter, or we would add something. We tried to throw some adversity with them. At one point, we were given penalties at workouts for things that were wrong, and then we had to do up downs. And we talked about having the next play mentality, but I guess the great thing about it was seeing it come to fruition, because we talked about it all winter long. So then when we got to that situation on Saturday, it was the first time I saw in our kids' eyes, they didn't fret, they didn't panic. They just trusted, I'm very cliche, they trusted the process and things we talked about.
Right.
We weren't fazed by it. And as a coach, that's all you can ask for.
Lex, have you been part of this program since your freshman season?
Yes, sir.
So you've been around, and I keep telling Coach Headen I'll stop talking about this eventually, but it's part of the story. You've been around for a team that was 0-10. You've been around for a team that improved to 6-5. It's a huge improvement. And then 7-4 last year, made it to the postseason the last 2 years. Why the turnaround? What happened? That happens within those walls. It doesn't really happen all out in the field. What happened in the locker room or amongst you and your teammates and coaches to allow for this turnaround to happen?
Man, it's hard to say. I really just believe it's that me and Mason and the other seniors this is a new mentality in the locker room and on the practice field and on game day. Really, we're just trying to preach to everybody, and we got a group of juniors under us that really understands that the work ethic and all the things that need to go into winning, all the little details. So it's just great. We've got 2 older classes to lead a bunch of younger guys, and it really helps, when the older guys really got to be the ones to set the tone, set the mentality for everybody else to follow. And I feel like that's something we may have been lacking past couple of years. So me and the other seniors been trying to bring that every day.
Obviously, it's working. That's for sure. And I'm going to bring you back in, Coach, because you told me a little story last Sunday, I believe it was, about that 0-10 team. And, of course, the chins kind of drop sometimes and you get a little bit discouraged. But what did you tell me about that team that kind of stuck out, that's notable, that kind of I walked away from that interview like, wow.
When I think back to it and Mason and Lex being a part of that team, the one thing I said that I was most proud of that year was that we would lose a game or things would not go our way and you'd hear all the people chattering, but our kids showed up every Saturday morning for workouts. I'd be at the door, they'd be there coming in, we shaking hands, eye to eye, looking at eyes, and we were getting at it. And we told those guys, those who are going to stay are going to get the opportunity to be successful. I talked to them about how high school football is cyclical and people go through these, there's ups and downs in high school football and programs, but trust and believe in what we're doing. And these kids did. And it's weird because to hear a coach say one of the most fulfilling seasons was an 0-10 year, they might think you're crazy. But even from a coach who's constantly learning from that standpoint, people talk about losses and lessons. I think we learned a lot about our kids. I learned a lot about myself. We learned a lot about our staff. And I think that the one thing we did was we owned it. I'll never forget, and Mason and Lex will tell you, we were in the weight room that Monday after we had lost. And that was the class, the 2026 class. They were just coming off of their midget success. They had played in the Super Bowl. And that Monday, they were all there with our upperclassmen.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's a testament to kids wanting to be successful. So it wasn't an overnight thing. There's been ups and downs, and we still got a lot to go. Like, you can ask these guys today. I was a bear today at practice. That's why I could barely talk today, because I know what it takes for us to continue. We still got a long ways to go to be a good football team.
Right. And Mason, the what I was really trying to get out of Coach, and I didn't get it out of him, is that he told me that you guys lost no players during that 0-10 team.
You're right.
Nobody quit. Nobody walked away. People quit. People walk away from 10-0 teams. Mm-hmm. Football is one of those games, man, that it just takes a toll on your mind, your body, your spirit. And you almost always lose some guys. What was that like, Mason, when you guys kind of looked around at each other? You're 0-10, but you're all everybody's still standing, everybody's still together, talking about your freshman year.
Well, I think that being our 0-10 season, and Lex and I we both had that COVID year. We hadn't played football for like forever, and then we come on here as freshmen. So it definitely was a new experience. But I think what was cool about that season was, like you said, when we would look around, and we're 14 years old, 14, 15 years old. So we're still kids, high schoolers. And then we look around and we see that all these older guys, they're going through it too. And this is their last season. So I think that kind of made us appreciate the team more and appreciate the program more, so that when we got older and we were the people who we looked up to, that we're able to implement some of those things to be successful now.
Yeah, if they can do it, so can you, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your principal, David Archer, Mason the mayor, he said. he just chimed in. So the Colonial Division, let's talk about that. It got no easier with the new Mid-Penn Conference realignment. You added Big Spring, Boiling Springs, Northern, and Shippensburg. Most of them are schools that are traditionally strong football programs. How do you feel about the new complexion of this Colonial Division, Lex?
Man, I like it. It's really going to be some new challenges. I like that we play new teams with new athletes. So some challenges we definitely never faced before, and I think it would be good to see how our team handles it. I think we'll handle it pretty well.
I never do I try to ask questions that are going to like kind of tick off the other team, and I'm not going to do that here today either. But you don't have I don't think you have a true. They call it a traditional rivalry. You know what that is, guys? Traditional rivalry is if neighboring communities, maybe Harrisburg and Steel High, or Central Dauphin and Central Dauphin East, they're within the same district. You don't really have a traditional rivalry. Is there a team within your division, Mason, that you look at and go, that's a team where we respect, first of all, but we'd really like to win that game. It's important.
I would say for me, I have two. I would say Greencastle's one of them. Just, I don't know, since freshman year, I've always felt this it's always a really good game between us and Greencastle, and then also East Penn.
Mhm.
I know they're just across the river, but those games are always good. And there's kind of a bad taste in our mouth from how the last game against them went. So I think those are two games that I usually always look forward to throughout the season.
And you have Greencastle coming up this week, and you're 2-2 over the last 4 years against Greencastle. So this is kind of, they call it the rubber match. And what do you know about Greencastle, Mason?
So we just started doing our scouting report and film on them. They're a formidable team. They're a good team. But right now, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not too worried about what they got going on. I'm more so focused on how we can prepare for this season or in this upcoming game. So they can do what they want to do. We're gonna do what we're gonna do, and then we're gonna go out on Friday night and be successful. That's
when you guys will figure it out, right? Lex, what about this Steel High game, man? It's kind of to me, it's kind of intriguing. It's a different kind of game, different classifications, 2A, 4A. I think you could throw that out the window, though. Do you have friends over there on that team in that school?
Yeah, it's I think that's gonna be an interesting game for sure. Knowing people, there's definitely been some trash talk, so that would be a one to see for sure too.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm not bringing Coach Headen's probably on pins and needles. I'm not trying to set it. There were great responses there, and I'm sure that Steel High and Greencastle and East Penn all have a lot of respect for you guys too. So we lost Coach there. He'll figure out how to get back in here.
Oh man, Coach Headen.
Can you hear us, Coach? We lost him before we went on the air, and he found his way back on. So, well, let's move on. Talk about let's shift off the football field here,
Right?
Because I'm pretty sure that I know for a fact that one of the reasons that Coach Headen brought you guys on is what you do off the field in the community. Within the halls of Susquehanna Township High School. Mason, how about the Michael Giddings Memorial Award? You received that last year. What was that all about?
Yeah, that was a really cool award to get, being a junior going to the senior award ceremony. That was an honor to receive, and it was cool because I obviously get praised for what I do on the field, but it was nice to be able to get some honor for all the work that I put in off the field and in the classroom and in the school.
Well, I first reached out to Lex actually 2 springs ago when he won the state championship in track and field, the 100 meter, correct?
Right,
Lex. And we just never got together. So I knew that Lex was going to be one of our guests. But I asked Coach Headen, I said, who else do you got? Immediately, Mason Lubold. And a lot of it had to do with, and he came right out and said, I love his energy. I love his, here he is. He likes, what you do in the classroom. Talk about, Mason Lubold off the football field, out of the locker room. Let's just say as a student at Susquehanna Township High School.
Yeah, so in high school, I take some hard classes. I'm in some of those AP classes, but I'm also vice president of my class, and I'm class officers within some other smaller clubs within the school. So I do my due diligence of being an active member of the school and being an active member within my classes, especially just because I am a football player. So I do have a different light shown on me. So if I can use that for some good, then I for sure will.
Yeah, well, student athletes are no slouches, generally speaking. I think the world of I know a lot of student athletes, and they're some of the most important kids in the schools. To just kind of, the schools need people that are committed like you, Mason. I mean, the stuff doesn't get done on its own, and we're talking outside. We're talking about you said vice president, right?
Yeah, I'm vice president of my class.
Yeah, we're talking about stuff like that. And so, Coach Headen, I just said while you were off that it didn't take you long when I said, how about another guy, to say Mason Lubold, because of his commitment to his grades and whatnot. So, Coach, talk about this class of 2024. I know there's way more than just Lex and Mason. You can't have them all on. But what do they mean to you, and what have they done? Uh-oh. Can you hear me, Coach? Okay, we're going to move on. I got a couple questions for him. He'll figure it out. So, Lex, you are committed to the University of South Carolina to play football.
Yes,
one of my favorite questions to ask all student athletes: why University of South Carolina? What went into that decision?
Yeah, when I visited, it was really just a great place, great vibes all around from the people. Everybody wanted me to be there. Penn State right up the road, it was great too, but I just wanted that new experience. To go grow by myself as a person, and all that. Go down south. Why not?
Yeah, why not? I mean, that's
right.
I always find it, especially with a guy like you. I mean, obviously, South Carolina, for those who don't know the terminology, they're a Power 5 school, meaning they're an elite, top tier college football program. And I'm sure that everywhere you went, they wanted Lex Cyrus to know that they loved you, right? Nobody gave you a bad visit, I'm sure. So whatever they did there, my hat's off to them, and I trust that you probably made a good decision there. Any chance of running track there too, or?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about that far yet. Probably not freshman year when I first get there. I want to just get situated in the college and all that.
Okay, Mason, how about you, bud? After high school, do you have your plans set up for your next path in life?
Yeah, so I'm going to get my undergraduate degree in political science, then I'm going to go to law school and get my law degree. So really just finding the best possible place that's going to put me in the best position to achieve those two goals, and then end up going into politics when I'm older.
I can imagine that that your short list of schools is probably some good schools, and I wish you well there for sure.
Thank you.
How about what's the buzz in the school like, Lex? Just because you guys now you're only 1-0. Okay, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but
Right.
Things are looking up. Let's just say things are looking up for this program, for this team. What's the buzz? What's the buzz in the halls like, and in the community, and with the teachers and all that?
It's definitely been way more positive around the building, way more congrats. Everybody's keeping up with the football team. I was over at Sarah Lindenwolf today doing some cadet teaching with the younger students, and one of the teachers over there asked me about how the game went this weekend. So it's definitely getting people in the township excited again, and they see the program coming back.
Well, Mason and I were talking.
A lot of people at the games,
Right. Yeah. Well, I was there last year for I think 2 games, and there was a nice crowd there, and I was there, I know for sure, for the Shippensburg game, which I should have mentioned. That's a game that you guys did pull out, so it wasn't like all the close games you guys lost. That was a heck of a game, and I think the team that kept their head the most at the end of that game was the one that was going to win, and that was Susquehanna Township. They kind of got a little over aggressive, and and sometimes that's what it takes, right, Coach? You just got to kind of keep your wits about you. It's a violent sport. It's a really tough physical sport, but sometimes that's not exactly what you need in certain situations.
No, you're right. And one of the things that coaches always talk about is trying to play at an even keel. Like, you can never be so high and play emotionally or be so low. And one of the interesting things about football, if you watch enough football, you'll see those games where teams get off to great starts in the first half, and it's like 21-0 in the first quarter. But I always say there's so much time left. If a team scores 1 touchdown for the remaining 3 quarters and shuts you out, you're going to overtime.
Right.
So again, like you said, there's so much that goes into a victory in those situations that you really have to be able an even kill the whole way through in order to be successful.
My friend John Velios, he's watching, I believe. He made a comment here. These 2 young men are very impressive. Keep up the great work. And John's a Susquehanna Township grad. I'm pretty sure he was with me last year for that Shippensburg game. And I remember saying they're starting to lose it over there at the Shippensburg. And they didn't hand the game to you either. You still had to finish it out. But I just remembered that they got a little angry, and you guys kept your wits about you, and you closed them out. Coach, how about this? Well, welcome back, by the way.
I apologize.
We're not going to give up on you.
Well, I was doing it. I was watching we were doing a podcast on my phone, but then coaches will understand the life of a coach. Every time my phone would ring, it would kick me out of the podcast.
Right.
So I was like, switch over to the iPad.
I understand.
So we got it working now. I apologize.
That's okay.
I know that you had said something to the blacks. You were asking me about, was it about Mason or Lex? And you said
it was about Mason.
It was about Mason because we already knew. You and I talked. It was 2 springs ago. That's how long ago it was when Lex won the gold medal in the track and field.
Right.
And I knew that we wanted to get Lex on the show, and we just never really connected. But I said, "How about one more player?" And you immediately said Mason Lubold.
Yo, and you know what? I mean that because you talk about high school football players and the glory positions and the wide receivers and the quarterbacks, but when you talk about a true scholar athlete, you know, and Mason knows how I feel about him. I try to talk to him about as many people as I can because he is a scholar and just an all-around good kid. All our kids are, but to have the opportunities that are being presented to him because of the hard work he put in the classroom and on the football field, you know, you can only hope that your children have those opportunities as well. He's a hard-working kid. I sort of compare Mason. I like to use the term, he's like the chameleon. You could put Mason in any setting, and he's going to fit in, and he's going to be successful. He could be with his teammates and be great. He could be at National Honor Society. He's going to fit in. He'll be with the adults, and that's a great trait to have, to be able to just fit in and be part of the group and feel comfortable no matter where you at. And then the same thing with football. Like, he can be with the freshman players and connect with them, or he can be with his classmates. And that's a unique characteristic that he has. And to be a great student and you're not going to find with these two men, you're going to be hard pressed to find anybody in our building that has anything negative to say about him.
And I guess great traits, great characteristics for a guy that wants to be a lawyer and then a politician of some sort. So let's just say he's on the right path, Mason.
Hey, I always brag to Mason. I'm gonna put you on blast right now. Like, when you ask a kid what he wants to be and he tells you White House Chief of Staff, that's real. You know,
I've never heard anything like that before.
Oh no, and I tell every college coach that comes in, I tell them, I go, some kids have lofty goals, and they say, but you know, when you meet someone in life that if that's their goal, they're going to achieve it. And I'm telling you, 10, 15 years from now, don't be surprised if you don't see this man leading press conferences in the West Wing. I
wouldn't be surprised at all. That's a great job too, man. That's an important job for sure. Lex, how about with the realignment of the divisions? You guys went from 4 non-league games, a much smaller division, to just 2. Did you kind of like having more pre-regular or non-league games before the division kicked in?
Yeah, it was fun. Definitely playing teams from different areas, but you know, this the way they wanted the division to be.
Sure.
So it's also good finally playing teams more in their city. We usually got to play teams, you know, Greencastle hour away, Waynesboro hour away. So playing Still High and Trinity, where they're only 10 and 15 and 20 minutes away, it just creates more buzz in the city for us.
So Trinity's your other non-league, right? Still High and Trinity.
They're in our league now.
That's right. They are in your league. Still High and Camp Hill.
Milton Hershey and Penn Hills are non-leagues.
Right.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, you're correct. And Steel High and Camp Hill are the two that
they are
will
both
not
in our division now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, Mason, how about talk about the opportunity to kind of, we're talking about leadership traits and off the field stuff. Talk about Susquehanna Township, the high school. What do you love about Susquehanna Township? I could tell just by talking to you for the last 25 minutes that you love the school. What do you love about it?
So I've been in Susquehanna Township since kindergarten. So I've gone through each each school within the district. And one thing specifically about the high school is just our teachers. I think we have some really awesome teachers that are able to connect with the students and just connect with everyone. And then also our administration, like with Mr. Archer and Miss Fisk and Miss Sanks, they obviously care about everything that goes into the academic portion of school, but they also give a lot of time to athletics as well. And I think finding that balance between both is what makes a really good culture within a school, when you can balance athletics and balance academics off of one another. That's what makes a really good culture. And I think that's what they're really working towards and what we've seen throughout the school building.
Absolutely. Lex, talk about this class of 2024, the guys that you've been with, kind of in the trenches and lost with, and now are winning more with. The guys that are going to graduate, going to walk across the stage with you this year. What's it feel like to just have had them in your life and to be in their lives for the last 4 years?
Yeah, so even like with the guys in my class, you talk about my freshman year when we came in, it really started with how many of us? I think 3 or 4 freshmen in my class at the time. It was me, Mason, Darian Brown. So those are really my 2 main guys. I've been playing with them since Smurfs maybe. So like just growing up with them and seeing how they've grown as well as I'm growing, it's just like it really hits me now that I'm a senior, seeing all this stuff, how it goes so fast. Like I really been with these guys for the past 10, however many years. But it's so playing with them every day and having them by my side in the locker room, losing with them, winning with them.
Right.
Like I wouldn't want to wouldn't have did it with nobody else.
And I don't know
But the
if
guys
you
in my
guys are.
class for sure.
I don't know if you guys are kind of old enough. This might be an adult thing, but to realize to stand back, like a guy like myself who just follows high school sports, and to watch a group of young men or young women, no matter what sport it is or what school, come in and change a culture. You guys changed the culture at Susquehanna Township, and maybe I'm kind of harping on that a whole lot, but you didn't just start winning more games. You can't just go in and go, we're going to win more games. It has to start at the grassroots lowest level. Mason, how is the culture different now than it was, let's say, 4 years ago?
So, yeah, I mean, freshman year, Lex and I would talk all the time about just sticking it out through and just making sure we get out of that season and move on to the next. So in terms of how it changed, I think Lex and I have really focused on team chemistry, because what we've seen is our chemistry as a team has grown so much throughout those three years since that season. And that's allowed us to trust one another off the field. Because if you don't trust the person beside you, then you're overcompensating for everyone and everyone's doing too many jobs at once and then nothing gets done. So I think just building chemistry and team bonding and not only being teammates, but being friends off of the field is something that we've seen throughout these past couple of years, changing the culture. And Lex and I have also just making sure our practices are structured and effective, but also super intense, like during those team sets that we have, those O&D team sets, just making sure they're super intense, keeping everybody up and keeping everyone safe, but bringing that intensity and then carrying that over on Friday nights. That's something Lex and I and some of the other seniors have really focused on. And obviously we've seen that be successful.
Football is not always fun. I think for most people, it's not always fun. I mean, but midway through the season or later in the season, your uniform starts to stink and get sweaty, and you've been doing this. You say, "Oh man, I've been doing this for 4 years," and sometimes you just gotta, coach. You know this. You've been coaching a long time. You got to find something within you to say, "This is going to end at one point, at some point here soon. What can I do to stay on, to stay on the horse here and to contribute at the highest level I can?" While this team's still playing.
Yeah, one of the hardest things I think to do, and I heard this years ago, I don't remember what coach said, it was with football, you're trying to get a bunch of young men to do things they don't want to do to achieve things they all want to achieve.
Right.
And that is so difficult. And especially in the day and age of the young person today, where even our society, it's like it's like to just add water. They want to add water and have it be there right away. And in order to be successful at anything, it takes time. And some teams are fortunate enough to have the right mix right away, and other teams it's a process. So it definitely is a challenge. But I think that when I look at this group here and these guys that have been through and weathered a few storms, I think they're going to be better young men when it comes time for them to move on and apply what they had to go through these 3 years at Susquehanna to their everyday lives, and they'll learn from them lessons and get some success elsewhere outside of football because of that. So
thank you for understanding my question. I kind of struggle with that, but you know what I'm talking about. Football's not always like a walk in the park.
Oh,
it's usually not a walk in the park. You can have a good practice where you're kind of walking on air a little bit. Well, that was a great practice or a big win, but there's a lot of stuff that don't have anything to do with really good practices and really great wins,
Like even today, Joe, it was super hot outside today.
Right, there we go. That's a good example.
We went full gear today. And when the guys come in and saw it on the board, I heard some of them under their breath, but I didn't say nothing. And there were some faces like, I thought Coach said we was going to go shells today. What's wrong? But again, you got to do things you don't want to do to achieve things you want to achieve. So we got through it, and I think we'll be better for it today. 1% better was the chant.
Correct. Okay, so we're going to kind of change directions here, and I think you know where we're going, Coach Headen. We're going to move on to what we call keeping it light. All right. Coach Headen's been involved in this before. These are questions that are going to have nothing to do with football. They're going to have nothing to do with Susquehanna Township. They're going to have nothing to do with you guys and your teammates. These are going to be questions that we're just going to learn a little bit more about you guys and what you like to do when you're kind of outside of the lines. And Lex, I'm going to start with you. Favorite, all-time favorite athlete, any sport, any level.
Ooh, all-time favorite athlete.
Or one that you really like a lot.
Man, I gotta say, one I really like a lot. I'm a Smitty fan. I'm an Eagles guy. I'm a Smitty fan right now.
Okay, that's a good one for sure. Let's move over to Mason. Do you have an all-time favorite? Do you have a bucket list item?
A bucket list item.
I mean, you're a young guy. You got plenty of time.
I do. That's tough. I want to go to Europe. That would be cool with my family. That would be something on my bucket list.
Well, I'm sure they're probably watching. So there's a hint. Yeah, I've never been to Europe either, and I'd like to go too. My grandson, he's 12, and he's been talking about it. So that might nudge me in that direction. Lex, all-time favorite musical artist, group or individual artist? Or one that you like?
NBA YoungBoy.
I knew that.
I gotta say it. I gotta say it.
But hey, so I gotta jump in on this. So Lex, you might remember this. Remember 2 years ago, it was the end of the year, and I'm always doing crazy stuff in my classroom. We had karaoke in my room.
Oh boy.
And you came
remember that.
You started singing Fantasia.
I do remember that. Do
you remember that though, Lex?
Dang, go on, Lex. Oh man,
the end of school karaoke.
Yeah, he said, and it was kind of cool because he goes, when I was growing up, I remember my mom used to play this song in the car all the time. It was When I See You. And that was, I still got that on my phone, Lex. I'm gonna have to hold that. So down the road, 10 years from now, that might pop up and go viral or something.
Right.
All right, Coach, favorite dessert?
Mine? Oh, apple pie, warm apple pie with ice cream.
Vanilla?
Oh, no doubt, all day.
Okay. Mason, favorite go-to meal? Let's just say it's your birthday and your mom says, I'm going to make you whatever meal you want. We're going to take you out to dinner. What are you getting? What meal?
I'm such a foodie. I have so many different favorite meals.
You're a well-rounded guy, man.
Definitely my go-to. If I can always get a bowl from Chipotle, that's a go-to. That's a go-to.
I just had a bowl from Chipotle a week ago, the first time ever, and it was pretty darn good.
Yeah, it's good.
Lex, favorite candy?
Peanut butter M&Ms.
All right. Okay, one more round here. And I'm going to ask Mason, this is the question that most people don't like to have presented to them. I think you're going to be okay with it, though. Favorite book?
Favorite book? Oh, geez. I would say it's a memoir. It's called Enough by Cassidy Hutchinson.
There we go. I know who Cassidy Hutchinson is. She had the job that you want, right? Or some, not maybe not. Was she chief of staff, or she was?
So the way
she
he
was
described it was she was chief of staff to the chief of staff.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I thought she was kind of connected in some way, shape, or form. Lex, you like hot sauce?
I can eat hot sauce. I'm not a put hot sauce on everything.
Okay, then I'm not going to ask you that one. I like to ask favorite hot sauce, but I'll figure out another one here for you. How about celebrity crush? Or if you don't want to give me a crush, a celebrity you like to hang out with?
I'd like to hang out with.
They're cool. They're smart. They're funny.
That's a hard one. I'm not really sure. Let me think.
Well, then I'll move on. How about? No, I don't like to jam anybody up here. This is for fun.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Favorite sports team?
I'm an Eagles fan.
Okay. Any do you like any other sports outside of football?
Sixers. Basketball. Sixers, my basketball team.
Let me ask you about the Olympics. I'm sure you watched at least the track and field, right? We just lost coach again.
Yes,
and remind me of our sprinter's name that won the gold.
I don't know how to
pronounce that. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know how to pronounce it. What was it?
What a finish, though. My gosh.
Yeah,
it looked until
close. It was crazy.
It looked until the very end like he was going to get second. I think he thought he was going to get second.
He came out of nowhere.
Yeah, he gave the guy a hug that he thought beat him. And so the last one, and we're going to give this to Coach Headen, and we call this one the Coach Kirk Smallwood question. And I'll tell you why, because it was never on our original list of keeping it light questions. And we had a student intern one year, and I was asking him questions, and she wrote this down and held it up so I could see it and read it off. Favorite Girl Scout cookie, Coach Joe Headen?
It's not called a butter cookie, but it's called the plain one.
It's like a biscuit kind of.
I can't remember the name of it.
I know.
Emblem on it.
Right. Yeah, they're kind of like for dipping in coffee or whatever. Yeah. Oh, they're really good. Yeah, I don't know what they're called either.
I can't remember the name of it, but that's my favorite girl. I would eat 2 boxes of those. I love them so much.
Anybody want to take a guess? Does everybody know who Coach Kirk Smallwood is?
Legendary basketball coach.
Legendary basketball coach.
Legendary.
Harrisburg's coach, right? Yeah.
I think maybe, I think maybe 29 years, 9 district championships, 2 state championships. One of the more legendary high school sports coaches, period, in the history of Pennsylvania high school sports. Yeah. His favorite Girl Scout cookie is the Do-Si-Do. And I had never heard of it. And when I asked him the question, he had a resounding answer. It was quick. He knew exactly what he liked. And so we like to keep that question kind of in our rotation here. So, fellas, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. You guys are an exciting group to keep track of, to follow. We're going to get out and watch you guys play. Good luck with Greencastle for sure. Coach, we'll get on the sidelines and for one of your home games and kind of join the hype there, man. It's a lot of fun being on Roscoe Warner Field, or is it Roscoe Warner Stadium?
Roscoe Warner Field. Yep.
Okay, all right. Yeah, sometimes it's field, sometimes it's stadium. But I'm just glad that Coach, you have guys like Mason and Lex and their teammates. Mason and Lex, I'm glad that you guys have had a chance to have a guy like Coach Joe Headen for the last 4 years. I mean, That's a spiritual thing. When God puts human beings together and they're able to learn and grow and prosper and win together, that's a big deal. And you guys have been afforded that opportunity for the last 4 years. So
I want go ahead. 2 things. One, trefolds. That's what
the cookie.
The cookies are called
TREFOLD, trefold. Yeah.
But on the other end of that, it's been it's been awesome and a great experience to have guys like this. And I think that it's a testament to all the guys that came through our program. I know Saturday, it was a big game, a big setting, but to have so many of our former players come through and get to introduce them to these guys, like Ben Moser was there. We had guys stop by practice. We had guys come by the locker room. And, I always tell guys like Mason and Darian and Torrin that you're still winning games for those guys that played here.
There's no doubt.
And that has been probably one of the better feelings to have, because again, it's been up and down. And in those years when we struggle a little bit, and those guys, those guys still got your back. That is just an awesome thing. So, not only is it a great experience for me to coach all these kids, past, present, and hopefully in the future, but to have the opportunity to coach these guys right now is fun. And we still got a lot of football to do. Who knows where this season's going to go? And we always want to talk about, it's not about W's and L's. Those help, but the relationships I'm building with these guys and they're building, that's what it's really all about. And the wins help make those relationships even better.
What a cool thing when a group of 14 through 18-year-olds has a group of old heads in their 30s and 40s excited. Okay. These guys, you guys have these older guys my age and Coach Headen's age, excited for Susquehanna Township football. And that's a big deal. It's kind of like connect the dots. The dots are connected right now between what's happening currently to what's happened in the last couple decades, for sure.
Yeah, and I keep reminding them, it's not just about you. It's about everybody in this community. So we're only one game in this thing. It
right.
Can be a lot of different ways. We take it one week, one day, however the cliche goes at a time. But, I tell them keep having fun and enjoy every moment we get. Part of my speech on Saturday, the guys remember, I talked about moments. It's not about bad days or bad years or good days and good years. You only have good moments, and you take those moments, and it's up to you to what you do with them and make the best of them. So hopefully we can have about 9 more good moments.
Amen. Okay, so let's just thank our sponsors here and remind you, upcoming next Tuesday, Jimmy Jones, legendary John Harris and USC quarterback Jimmy Jones. We're working on Coach Andrew Irby and a couple of his players, Coach Cal Everett, that's Steel High, of course, Coach Cal Everett from Harrisburg and a couple of his players. And then Sunday night at 6:00, we'll be talking about the Susquehanna Township team again, because we're going to do our week 2 recap. So Rickaba's Electric, Payer Apparel. Thanks again to Larry. We'll get these T-shirts to the guys. Ted's Bar and Grill, Freedom Financial, Wealth Management, Tonino's Pizza, Crystal Bob at Howard Hanna Real Estate, Team PA, AAU Basketball, Sam Hartley Decking, American Legion Post 272, Hoffman Ford, The Tire Mart, Modern Imprint, Capital Region Insurance Agency, and Underdog Sports Bar and Grill. For Mason Lubold, Lex Cyrus, and Coach Joe Headen, I'm Joe Gillaway. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us, Joe.
Yep.
We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
Well.